today in Rich in Relationship. We're going to talk about the golden marriage myth, why things look good, but they don't feel so good. The golden marriage isn't just about the perfect marriage. It's about where you stand in society. It's about how people see you. It's about filling that empty hole that should be self-esteem with the externals, with the things of the world. Create a shared vision. Create a vision for each of you individually. Welcome to another episode of Rich in Relationship. I'm your host, Rich Heller, and today we are talking about the golden marriage, that marriage we're all striving for, that perfect marriage. You know the one you see on television, the one, do we ever see that on television anymore? Maybe that was like a 1950s thing. So here's where we're going to start out. Last episode, we talked about the kept man and the kept woman, or man keeping and the kept woman. And we talked a lot about this dual income thing and how a lot of it is being driven by the style to which we've all become accustomed living. Well, a big part of the style, maintaining the style to which we've all become accustomed living, lies in this golden marriage myth. And it's media driven. Actually, a lot of it's media driven, but a lot of it is really the media is just feeding on social patterns that have persisted for hundreds of years. Keeping up with the Joneses, we used to call it, Og having the biggest cave, however you want to frame this. How many sheep do you have? Oh, I've got 5,000. Oh, I've got 6,000. The golden marriage isn't just about the perfect marriage. It's about where you stand in society. It's about how people see you. It's about filling that empty hole that should be self-esteem with the externals, with the things of the world. A female listener asks, actually she says, "We have everything I thought I wanted. So why do I feel lonely in my marriage?" A lot of people are working their butts off to have everything they thought they wanted. And then they get there and they go, what? It's like the Talking Heads song. Is this my beautiful house? Is this my beautiful wife? How did I get here? I had a moment like that myself, which is how I got into this work. There's a myth. The myth is if you check all the boxes, if you have the right house, the right career, if your kids grow up the right way, if you take the right vacations, if you accomplish in the right areas of life, if you look a certain way, if you dress a certain way, if you drive a certain car, fulfillment follows. Well, people are finding out that there is a very hollow promise in there. Very hollow indeed. Because the truth is, we all hear it, and yet somehow we don't. It isn't stuff that makes life work. A 2022 Pew study says that 56% of married adults say their marriage is going well, but far fewer describe it as very satisfying emotionally. What do you think is more important? There's that thing that people say, oh, on your deathbed, you'll never say, I wish I'd worked more. The truth is that when we get to the end of our lives, that's when we start to realize that emotional fulfillment, self-esteem, personal satisfaction, personal development, growth, creativity are what life is really about. It's not about what kind of car do you have. It's not about how big is your house. It's not about how successful your kids. It's not about how good you look or how bad you look. It's about what are you creating for yourself, for your family, for your neighborhood, for your community, for your country, for the world. So much of this is driven by social media. How much time are you spending on social media? Oh, you're so tired of hearing that question. Why does everybody talk about it? Because whether it was television in the 1950s, whether it was the movies in the 30s, whether it was cave drawings, we're all allowing ourselves, or have been allowing ourselves to be driven by what other people think, when what really matters is how do we feel. We're financially stable and people think we're solid. So why do I feel so disconnected at home? Asks a male listener who is supporting his family. Even in dual income families, roles can look really balanced. There can be shared parenting. You can have active social lives and still feel hollow inside. There can be an emotional imbalance in your marriage, in yourself, really, is what we're talking about. If there's an emotional imbalance in your marriage, it isn't his fault. It isn't her fault. It starts with me. I need to be the change I want to see. If there's not speaking for me, I'm not speaking for you too. I'm not just talking about myself, talking about you. If you're pointing one finger at somebody else, there's at least three pointing back at you, sometimes four. I can't see how I get my thumb back. At least three pointing back to you. You can't recognize a defect in another person unless you have it inside yourself. Don't try and take the splinter out of your wife's eye until you take the 2x4 out of your own. How many ways do I need to say this? The reality is, when there is emotional imbalance, when you feel like you're keeping your man, or when you feel like you're a kept woman, or when you feel like you're taking care of her and everything else, and you can just go play golf or whatever, when there's an emotional imbalance, it just isn't working. External success often, very often, hides internal disconnection. Here's a stat for you. The National Marriage Projects did a study that shows that couples with higher income and education report less divorce risk, but not higher day-to-day satisfaction. So divorce is a mark of failure in a lot of people's eyes. But are you still satisfied? A lot of people get divorced and still don't feel satisfied. Guess what happens when people get divorced? You know that the statistics for divorce increase the more you do it. If you get divorced once, the possibility that you're going to get divorced again almost doubles. If you've been divorced twice, it's freaking insane. The fact is that people who divorce tend to divorce again. Now, I am an exception. My wife is an exception. We both divorced and remarried and have stayed together and have a strong partnership. God willing, we will continue to. It feels right to me. Maybe because we focus on supporting each other in our individual fulfillment and satisfaction and growth, maybe. So where are we going with this? Female listener 35. We built this life together, but I feel like we've lost us in the process. What happened? Couples overfunction in roles is what happens very often. One person leans too heavily in being the financial provider without the other partner sharing the financial decision-making load, or one partner leans too heavily into making decisions about children without sharing that load. And then what happens? One day the kids go off to college and the two partners find out they're not partners. Actually, they weren't even co-parents. They were parallel parenting the whole time. They weren't supporting one another and they weren't growing in one another. Here at Rich Your Relationship, we have a stance that we take about marriage. This is it. The purpose of marriage is to help the individuals in the marriage to develop and grow individually. And the individuals feed the marriage so that it supports them individually. And they feed the marriage so that it supports the children in developing and growing individually. And they feed the marriage because it gives them a vehicle together to create synergy in the change and difference they're making in their families in the world. That is our stance on marriage. If you see marriage as anything else than that, then you are watering down the Kool-Aid. The Godwin Institute estimates that 69% of marital conflicts are about unresolved perpetual issues. These are differences in values and roles, not money or kids. The money may trigger the fight. 76% of all marriages have money fights, but underneath the money fight is what are we using the money for? And what do we use money for? Values. Success isn't about performance and keeping up appearance. Success is about emotional development and growth. Success is about discovering latent talents and skills and developing them and growing them, about becoming the most full and creative human being possible. And as we talked about in the last episode, the road to being a fully creative, synergized partner, let's call it, starts in emotional transparency and experience. A lot of times we get so stuck on the treadmill of life. Got to make more money. Got to get better at tennis. Got to be the top of the PTA. My kid has to get the best grade. Sometimes we get so wrapped up in the statistics of life that we lose sight of what's really important. I've had one guy say to me, I'm providing, isn't that enough? I had a woman say to me, if I'm managing everything, why doesn't he appreciate me? It's that kept man, kept woman overlay. External markers provided for, provider, still shape our identities. We got to get off of what is it that we got to get, what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is we got to get off of having the right whatever makes us better. And we got to get more into having this helps us achieve this result. Having this car, whether it be a pickup truck or a Bugatti, helps us achieve a specific result. Yes, having a Bugatti helps you achieve a result. There are people who their ambition is to be billionaires because by being billionaires, they have more influence and can make a bigger difference in the world. And having a Bugatti tells people who they are. There are other people who have pickup trucks who are billionaires who are like, that game no longer works for me. Either way, there's a rationale or a reason for that choice that isn't just, I'm going to look good if I had this, or I'm going to fit in with my group if I have this. If success isn't the answer, what actually makes a marriage feel good? Asks a female listener. Shift the focus from roles to relational quality. Now, roles are still good. Well, roles. I'm throwing out roles, actually. It's more like you need to have areas of responsibility rather than roles. Number one, make sure that the areas of everyone has their own area of responsibility that best meets their strengths, whether they are strengths that are driven by their gender or strengths that are driven by their education or strengths that are driven by their natural proclivities and tendencies and strengths, whatever it is, those traits, let those traits drive the areas that they master, that they are final decision makers over, let's say. But number two, we need to focus on relational quality. And then the last episode, again, we talked about emotion, being vulnerable, right? Relational quality is built on first the foundation of safety. You need to make it safe for each other. And out of that safety, you're going to build trust. Care and communication will help with the safety and the trust. Having a roof over your head doesn't hurt either, let's be honest. And out of trust comes vulnerability. And out of vulnerability comes intimacy. Focus on these things and you will have relational strength and build relational resilience. Create a shared vision. First, create a vision for each of you individually. If I'm going to develop myself and grow myself, what do I want to learn? Where am I going to focus my time and energy for me as an individual? Secondarily, what are our overlapping interests? Children, right? Our overlapping interests might also be social causes. Our overlapping interests might be certain kinds of people we enjoy spending time with. We might build our social life around schools, the parents of children that our children associate with, because we want to be in that. It takes a village, right? We might build our social lives around our shared interests. Oh, we both like mountain climbing, so we hang out with people who mountain climb. We might build our social network around our individual interests. Oh, I do martial arts, you ride, so we'll hang out with the riding community, we'll hang out with the martial arts community. Make sure that you are transparent and articulate and intentional is the word I'm looking for about building those social networks. Prioritize emotional literacy, not just financial stability. Like I said, you got to have a roof over your head and food on the table for safety. I want you to be emotionally fluent, particularly my men. Women are pretty much naturally emotionally fluent. Men, why don't you work at being emotionally fluent? Thus, emotional literacy. Literacy would be, I'm familiar with the emotions in different ways that they can be expressed. Fluency is I'm good at expressing them. Couples who report high satisfaction rank friendship and emotional intimacy above financial security or lifestyle, says a national survey of families and households. So what does a golden marriage really look like if it's not about appearances? A golden marriage looks like two people who are really loving life. You know what? You may sacrifice for a short while a personal interest for your children. I have been practicing martial arts for 40 years, but there was a period of 6 or 8 years there where I couldn't go to my primary school. I dabbled in some other martial arts because I needed to be there for my children. As I shared in the previous episode, my children didn't want to be in daycare anymore. They needed me to be there for them after school. And so I spent time with them after school and I worked around that. And because I had this schedule, I could not go to my dojo, which was a good hour away. And so I just had to let that go for a while. And then our situation changed. They became more independent, and I could return. So sometimes we shelve an interest for brief periods of time or even long periods of time for the well being of our children, the well being of our partner, the well being of our family, but always with the understanding that we're going to return to it if we are really and truly interested in it. Beware of saying, I could have been a contender. It's not about being a contender, it's about developing and growing yourself. It's about co creation, one leader per domain, but mutual veto power with alternatives to choices that one vetoes. Complete transparency, we rarely exercise veto power in our marriage, my wife and I, but we do it. A veto power often means that something won't be done now, it might be done later, by the way. It almost never means we're never going to do that. Veto power might be something like, oh, I'm interested in polygamy. No, not doing that. Just not in my values. Well, that hasn't come up here, but that might come up for you. You need to create a new gold standard if you want to have a true golden marriage. The true golden marriage is emotionally rich, rich in relationship. Ah, I finally got to do that. That's what we're about. We're about helping you have a life that is rich in relationship. And a life that is rich in relationship is going to feel abundant and prosperous everywhere else. You are entitled to prosperity there's so much of it here. You're entitled to prosperity, but it isn't the prosperity of a Bugatti. It might be, but it isn't necessarily that everyone should have one. It's whatever makes you feel fulfilled. Fulfillment equals prosperity. That's what we're going for here. The new gold standard is a partnership that feels alive, that's synergistic, that isn't just a stable platform for creating material wealth. As always, if this is stirring some stuff up for you, I want you to feel free to reach out to me. Go to richinrelationship.com and you will find the free membership site, The Bridge. There, that's the free membership site. And there is a way to reach me directly through the free membership site. Reach out to me. I'm interested in hearing from you. Questions, criticisms, whatever you got, bring it on. I'm ready. In the meantime, have an awesome day and a fantastic tomorrow. And thank you for listening.